Hello and welcome back. This video today is going to be about the Godin Grand Concert nylon strung guitar range, and specifically about the RMC Rick McLeish pickups.
This is Everything Guitar.
There's been some confusion I noticed in the forums where people are asking questions about what do I do about my RMC pickup, but especially so you can tell apart the RMC from the other designs. So here we've got an RMC pickup, so you can see there are 6 individual pole pieces. They're actually 6 individual pickups, and you can buy them in singles or a set of 6 directly from RMC Rick McLeish. You can just email them and they will get back to you and give you the appropriate shipping details for the pickups. This is if you have a problem with the pickup. Some people have said that they have had problems. It may be that there's a wiring issue, or that maybe there's a soldering issue. Now, I have another Grand Concert here, that this one is loaded with the Fishman. And you can usually tell any type of standard transducer because there'll be a single saddle piece sitting here, as you can clearly see here there are 6 individual pole pieces. So that's the first thing. The RMC pickups are very distinctive. You can always check your model and make to see, you know, any of the details with your serial number, any of your documentation to see exactly which types of pickups you have in your Godin Grand Concert. And these are very good for MIDI as well, so that's why usually if you've got a MIDI type guitar, they often have the RMC, whereas this is the Godin Ambiance guitar with the Fishman Aura system in. So it has the individual saddle piece. So this is what we're interested in, is these 6 individual pieces that are good for taking the information and converting it into MIDI, because you need individual string data, whereas on a standard saddle all of the information is shipped out at once, so it's not so good for MIDI. So that's why they put RMC pickups in. Now, it just so happens that I bought a replacement set of RMC pickups, and I have actually got a replacement in here. And I thought what I'd do is I would attempt to open the back, because I wired it in myself, and I thought I would talk about how it's wired into the preamp that's further up the guitar, and tracing the wires that go from here back up to the preamp, which is up the top here. So I'm going to take the back off. So anyway, we'll open the back up and get started. So the point of this now is to look at the Godin interior. So we've got the RMC pickups here. Obviously they attach the electronics here, and there's a wire that connects the two, which we'll find on the back. And what happens is, via the back compartment, we'll go to here. So you just need to open both compartments and then get a visual reference. Obviously you need to use a screwdriver that fits nice and comfortably in the slot, that won't thread any of the screws, taking care not to damage the surface of the instrument. You know, you can always place some cloths like that, you know, near where you're working, if you're a little bit worried. And of course, don't lose the screws. But my main concern is not to thread the screw, because there's no point rushing a job like this. You know, if your guitar is in nice condition. And when I've got all of the screws out, I'm going to put them somewhere away from where I'm working. Because obviously I don't want to move the guitar. And put them on top of them and scratch the guitar. The other reason a cloth is good is because when you want to put the block somewhere, you don't damage the instrument. And I'll be taking photographs as I go along. Because now you can see a little bit of the interior. So you can see in the pictures that I'm taking, what you can see is the pickup coming through the wood. So when you put the pickup in, you obviously have to thread it through the slot from the top of the guitar. You thread it through. So if this was the sound top, you'd actually thread the pickup through, because it's unsoldered at this end, and you thread it through, comes through the wood, and then from there the wires will be taking it up here and through to here. So now I've got to take this off now. So that's just to really do a visual. So just 4 screws this time. I can find out. Okay, so I've got this panel off, and I'm going to take a photograph of the internal cavity so you can see what actually happens here. But what's going on from this side is where you've got the battery here. The battery wires feed all the way through to the top of the circuit board in here. So I'm going to see if I can get a better camera angle. So you can see the top of the circuit board, and you can see the battery connections, negative and positive. And then I'm going to show this part of the guitar. So you've got the connection, the loom that goes to the jack socket. Then you've got the negative black wire and the red positive wire tied together. Then you can see the RMC pickups, the gold looking wires, and they're going through the body. The other holes that you can see presumably are for the bridge. So you can see a little bit of the internals here, but really there's not much to see because all of the action is at this end. And of course you have to take the circuit board out in order to see what's underneath it, and that's where the RMC connections are. And you can actually see here the loom that's connected, that's going to go to the jack socket. So obviously the pickups go to here into the preamp, and the preamp takes the grey purple type loom and takes that all the way back to the jack socket. And then by taking this panel out, we'll be able to see, because this is the Polydrive, you can probably see the marking there. It says Polydrive. So we can see where the pickups, and from memory I can see the blocks to the left looks like where I would imagine they are for the Hex pickups, like here. But anyway, let's see, let's take that panel off and see what's going on. Very delicate operation. So I think tweezers. Definitely tweezers. Much easier with tweezers. And the washer just happily comes out with static. So with the right tools, some jobs become a lot easier. So now I'm hoping, okay, I'm going to get a camera in here so you can see. I just want to be able to remove this as one and see if it comes out. And yeah, it does. Okay, so what we can see from here, I shall get the camera in here because I'm just going to try and turn the board over just so we can get a good visual. Right, and there, over here, you can see the RMC pickups. And if you look really closely, and I'll try and get a light in there, you can see that there are 6 strips each, and there's 2 contact points. There's a point on the left and a point on the right. There's a short one and a long one, so the solder point. And I can see where I did my soldering job at the end. So that's what you need to repair. Now, tracing the one, what I did, I don't know whether you can see, but I marked the RMC wires. Can you see I've marked them with a couple of blue strips? And then I left the RMC one, which is the second from bottom, the replacement one. You can actually see it's a different kind of colour. Now when I called up RMC and I exchanged the messages with Rimcleish, I gave him the model number and the serial number, and he checked it and he said, yes, this is the right one for this guitar. And I think that one must be the A string. So I think the one nearest us, we're looking at the high E string, and then the B, then the G, then the D, then the A further down, that's the one I've repaired, and then the E. And there you go. That's how you would repair them. So you'd have to basically ensure that you get enough slack on the RMCs to be able to remove this board or you just tip it up like that, and that's the kind of space you've got to work in. So there are your 6 contact points. And I don't know if anybody else has ever shown this on YouTube. This may be a first. So certainly I've seen that question asked in the last couple of weeks. It's like, I've got a problem with my RMC pickup, you know, one of them. What do I do? And my advice is, well, if you're used to soldering onto circuit boards, then you can do the job yourself. You just need to know how to do the replacement. It's not chronically difficult to do, but it's a fiddly job. But in general, it's not an impossible job. So there you go. I'm going to put it all back. You can actually see where all the shielding is in the cavity. And if you see cheap Chinese guitars and you look at how good this cavity is, this is what you pay the extra money for. You pay for attention to detail. These guys know what they're doing. So I'm going to put this all back. And so anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope this has been useful. All you've got to do now is flip the board over. Make sure it's screwed in at the sides, those side screws, and then just make sure that the board, if you needed to get at the board inside, that's when you undo the screws that will be there, the other way up. And of course, always be careful. Just make sure you don't touch any circuitry. You know, most of these things are usually all right. I mean, they're just capacitors and resistors and, you know, the rest of it, but still static electricity can do lots of harm, so always best just to be extremely cautious. And there you go, that's the inside of an RMC. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.